screening. It's a film about people who have been killed by the police in Las Vegas. And we've invited some of the family members to be with us today. And I appreciate that they're here. I know how difficult it is to be here. We've also invited the press to come so that they can see the film and understand what's going on, and then talk to the filmmaker and the panelists and some of the family members afterwards. So we really appreciate our special guests today, and we appreciate your patience as we get the sound, the audio hooked up for the press, and then we'll be able to get started. Those of you who are coming in, we have plenty of seats. They're kind of in holes. Thank you all for being here. And we might have to ask some people to maybe if you would make room for the close up so people won't have to climb over you as they're coming in. Maybe that would be good. Ramsey? Do you know where Ramsey is? Our director? If you have time.
Before we do the question and answer, there has been a press conference called. We're going to do a live press conference with Trinita Brown, the mother of Tashii Farmer-Brown. So we'd like to invite the press to come up with their cameras wherever they would like to, or do their lighting while we bring her up. She called this press conference, and she wanted to make a statement to the press. She will not be answering any questions. After which, come on up, Trinita. After which, we will do a question and answer with a panel of some of the people that are on the phone. So if the press will come up, and also Trinita.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I'm happy that the police officer that killed my son has been charged. If it was a regular person, a citizen, it would have been so lenient on them. Because it was an officer, he was getting special treatment. I call on District Attorney Wolfson to re-examine the case and charge this officer appropriately.
I am moderating. I can also answer some questions. But we have Ramsey Denison, the director, and Randy Wiles. So I will be calling on anyone who would like to ask a question, and if you'll come up to the microphone, that would be great. Would anybody like to ask a question?
You're stunned at all called us, right? Very stunning film.
I'll try to keep this together. I'm Lisa Mayo, Teresa, and Herb Scott was my friend. And Bill Scott was my friend, and I know you guys. Sheriff Lombardo just announced that he is running again for sheriff. And I think as citizens we need to find somebody great to get in that race and run against him. But I want to say to both Randy and Ramsey, thank you for doing this film.
Thank you.
I know Eric is looking down. Thankfully we did the film. But there are things we as citizens can do. We need to go to the legislature in this next session, and we need to make sure we change the statute so that cops don't investigate cops, that a third party investigates Metro law. And we can do that. We can do that. It just takes time and effort to go and lobby to do that. So that needs to be done. The officer-involved shooting rate, which I track regularly, is inching up to where now there's 12 this year, as of recently, 11 or 12 that have been killed. And we're approaching the level that we did when Eric and Trevon that same year where our group, our activist group, along with many people I know that are in this room, were able to bring in the Department of Justice. Now, we wanted to bring in the Department of Justice for them to literally take over the police department, but instead they sent in cops, which is COPS, and they did an investigation into Metro and found that they were in violation of a lot of rules, 23 different things that they weren't doing right. But now we're inching up on that again, and I think we need this community again to get together and say, you know what, you brought in cops before, but now you bring in the DOJ, and now you take over the police department.
This is a wildly corrupt, wildly out of control police
right,
department.
because they're not better.
Yeah.
So we do need to do that, but this film it was so great because it took us from when Eric and Trevon, which seems like a long time ago but wasn't, and then with Tashii, that was just horrific to see. And trust me, you could never have covered all the people. We could cover the gentleman, Mr. Kepmany, who was a tourist here, who was ingested some drugs that were given to him at the Hard Rock. He had a mental breakdown, and the SWAT killed him because he wasn't acting right, and he was just looking for help. There are lots of other instances here too that take place, but
I'm going to cut you off here.
I-
We're not going to, tell more stories.
but I just think it's great. Thank you. I think anybody that's seen this and they see it, unless this community starts to do the things that we can do, it's not going to get any better.
Thank you.
For me, the bottom line is, unfortunately, the bad guy won. Joe Lombardo won, the bad guy. And when I saw a couple days ago that he's running for sheriff, the question I had is, what have you done? What positive, quantifiable things has Joe Lombardo done since he's been elected sheriff? There was a Las Vegas Review-Journal article in 2016. The murder rate was up 91%. The violent crime rate was up 50%. And so crime is rising in Vegas, and this guy wants to be sheriff again? Why? What has he done? Like, what positive changes has Joe Lombardo contributed since taking over the LVMPD? And I implore you citizens to not let that happen. Don't let the bad guy win again.
Hey, can I just stop for 1 second? We'd like to invite another panelist up. Could you please come? Neil Franklin is a representative of law enforcement, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and he is here as well. And so please welcome Neil Franklin as well.
He was the head of the internal affairs.
I'm sorry, sir. Can I just
taking a drive in Idaho?
I'm sorry. We're here to talk about this film. It's not story time for anything else. So if you have a question, we'd love to.
I appreciate it. I'm a wealth of information. I've tried to contact you via email, via the Facebook. I have a wealth of information. I have a lot of knowledge relevant to this town, and I hope you will contact me. John Jeremiah.
Thank you. Would the panelists like to say anything? If you'd like to say anything, we'd love to hear from you even before the next question. And just so everybody knows, this is a question and answer time. This is not a time to bring up other cases or other things. So, but panelists, would you like to say something?
Have them introduce themselves.
Yeah, please introduce yourself even more than your name. That's
I'm Ramsey Denison. I'm the director of What Happened in Vegas.
I'm David Safavian. I am the Deputy Director for the Center for Criminal Justice Reform, which is part of the American Conservative Union in Washington, D.C.
And my name is Randy Wiles, and I'm the Executive Producer of this film.
My name is Neil Franklin. I am a 34-year law enforcement veteran from the state of Maryland. I'm the current Executive Director of the Law Enforcement Action Partnership, known as LEAP. And just so you know, our organization is an organization of police, judges, prosecutors, criminal justice professionals who advocate for dramatic reform, change, elimination of many of the problematic public policies that we have in place that lead, unfortunately, to the making of films such as this. We need drastic reform within our policing community, within our entire criminal justice community. And as it relates to policing, we need civilian-led policing in this country.
Are there any other prepared statements that you would like to say before we resume the questions? Okay, thank you.
Now the DA that investigates officer-involved deaths. If you could just speak at all from the experience from making the movie, the old process, whether the new process is, I guess the system in place for accountability, that there is a system, of your thoughts and feelings about that process and what you've done.
Can I answer that? I'd like to answer that because I've had a conversation with District Attorney Wolfson about this accountability process. He has taken the firm position that he will not investigate or even listen to any case that isn't first vetted by and submitted by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. That is his system. That is what he's done. This last legislative session, we tried to push forward a very simple amendment to some laws that just simply said that any attorney, any officer of the court, could present evidence for the district attorney to make the decision. This doesn't take away from the district attorney. Either we trust him or we don't. But all we wanted to do is make it so that anybody else could submit facts and evidence to the district attorney, and the Las Vegas Police Protective Association came very strong against that, and we were shouted down, and it didn't even get to committee. So we do believe that there needs to be, or I believe personally, there needs to be accountability. But the fact of the matter is, they changed the process. Okay, they changed the process so the district attorney makes the decision. But the fact of the matter is, he won't even listen to anything or look at any evidence that isn't presented to him by the police. So, thank you very much. Does that answer your question? It does. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
I am Wes Legal from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm going to keep a question to the film. I was wondering if there were any cases you looked into that didn't make the movie, and for the other panelists, if there are any cases you thought sort of might rise to the same level?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, we actually had other cases in the film at a certain point, and it just became, filmmaking is actually very practical sometimes. Like cost issues, or the person that you're trying to get the footage from is difficult. And so, there was a case where we examined well, and it just became like the footage that we were using, the person was too difficult, so we ended up like cutting that person out of the movie because it was just too difficult to do. So yeah, I mean, there were a couple, and there were other cases too. We wanted to keep the movie around 90 minutes that we weren't able to examine, even though they were very interesting. I mean, the LVMPD, if I could probably make a 6-hour movie about this organization. I mean, the corruption runs that deep, but you just only have time for a certain number of cases.
And we'd love to talk to you about some other cases later. We certainly can contact me, and we can let you know about a number of cases. So, yeah. Are there any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Jay Jackson, New Black Panthers.
This is the gentleman that was arrested in the film when he was simply speaking and telling the police that he thought that what they were doing was wrong, and so he was arrested.
My question is, I'm going to get right to it. How do you feel about the death penalty for police officers? Because I know if I did some of these things that they're getting away with, me being a black man, I know where I would be. And I do have experience with prisons and being inside the penitentiary. So how do you feel about the death penalty when it comes to police officers?
And maybe we can get some of our other panelists involved here.
Well, I'll leave with that. I don't believe in the death penalty, period. I don't believe that, well, I believe that all life is valuable, should be respected. Whether it's through our court systems or whether it's through police officers who don't honor or who don't go about the business of their craft the way it should be. I'm just against the death penalty. I'm against people taking someone else's life, period, for whatever reason.
That's what the police are doing. They're taking lives. They're taking lives and they're getting away with it. So the new Black Panther was like, you know, we feel, hey, it's time to get more hardcore. In some countries, they will put police officers on death row. They don't play with it. Me personally, I feel that they're getting away with murder on a consistent basis. So it's like this to me. If they're getting away with murder on a consistent basis, I think something needs to be done as far as more hardcore. Let's shut this down. Now, you say that you don't believe in this and that. Well, I don't believe that these police officers should be getting away with murder, especially in the Black community.
Right on, brother.
But first, baby steps. How about maybe they get suspended or maybe lose their jobs? I mean, that's.
How about we start putting them in prison where they belong?
There's that too.
That's what I'd like to see happen.
But nothing is happening.
Brian Yamp belongs in prison.
Okay, I agree with you, but my point is nothing is happening. Nothing is happening, and the police investigate themselves and say they did nothing wrong. That's the problem.
Yeah, that was the problem I ran into.
Yes, sir.
All right, my name is Tashii Terry. I'm the supervisor of information for an organization.
Can you step forward? We can't hear you.
Yeah, talk to Mike, please.
My bad. My name is Tashii Terry. I'm the supervisor of information for an local organization out here called All Shades United. My question is, and actually you just walked me into it when you were talking about maybe we should, you know, get the suspensions and take these little tokenisms, but they're taking lives, and it's how do we, you know, how do we just accept them taking a life with, in terms of police terrorism? They took Tashii's life. They just took Anthony Garrett's life, a 16-year-old that they're trying to say committed suicide. He didn't commit suicide. Look into the story. But what I'm asking is what was it, involuntary manslaughter? I mean, it's nothing compared to what any of us would get, like Brother Jay Jackson was saying. So how do we apply the pressure to continue to get that? And I ask that for anyone who's a representative of law enforcement, or anyone who has an answer to that, because I feel like they just give us these scraps, you know, oh here, he was charged finally, and it continues to happen.
Yes, sir. I think Mr. Franklin's probably the person, and Mr. Savoy?
Let me,
I'm sorry about that.
do you know what civilian-led policing is? And maybe I need to ask that question first. Does anyone know what it is? Let me explain what it is. The police belong to you. They work for you. They are to serve you. But yet, we in this country do not control our police departments because that's not how the process is set up. We talk about civilian review boards. If and when they work, they don't work. And it's after the fact. Here's what civilian-led policing is. To have the community that sets the philosophy, that dictates what is important to the community as it relates to police going about their business. You set the budget, you hire and fire the police through a committee that represents the community. Community leaders, youth leaders, clergy, that who make up the community. You are in charge of the police. Setting the philosophy, calling the shots, and when things don't go the way you want them to go, you make changes. Not the mayor, not the city manager, not the governor, you the community. And that's where we need to go. And the only way we can do that is if and when you organize as a community to insist that that happens.
So let me take a slightly different spin on that. I work for an inherently policy-oriented organization. Some would call it political. And it seems to me, speaking for myself and on behalf of my organization right now, that the challenge you face is that when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? What we have is we've got a system where there is a lack of transparency and accountability, and you don't have the tools to enforce and pursue that. And civilian-led policing is a great concept. How you execute it is the challenge, and I think that challenge has to be taken up at the ballot box, and unfortunately Larry Burns didn't make it the last go-around. And to the extent, and I don't know if Nevada has the ability to put things on the ballot initiative authority, but you take it to the ballot and you put it to the voters and you make structural changes through the political process. You know, the gentleman came up and talked about the death penalty for police officers. I'm a skeptic of government writ large. I don't think the government does a great job of just about anything. And so the idea of empowering the government to make decisions about life or death scares the living daylights out of me. I don't think you can take a position of singling out any specific groups. I know that some have been singled out because of culture and bias and a whole assorted list of excuses, and that's what it is, it's a pure excuse. But the approach that Larry has taken, you look at how community policing is supposed to work across the country, and it does work when it's implemented appropriately. And so the challenge Nevada and Las Vegas in particular has is to identify those leaders and work twice as hard so that there's not an 8,000 vote difference come election day, and so that you do have the type of people that are your leaders and are accountable to you as the voters. That's the only way I see that you can get out of this trick bag, for lack of a better term, because the power structure is such that it resists change. And the only way to make that change happen is really through organization at the ballot box and on constitutional referenda and ballot initiatives.
Thank you. Now, I've been told that we have 3 minutes and then we no longer have the right. So we have one last question. Sir?
Steve Wellstan. First of all, that's a very powerful movie, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And where does it go from here?
Well, we are releasing the movie in theaters in Vegas in late August. And at this point, I'm not going to say where the theater is that it's being released, because interestingly enough, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we had conversations with a local theater here in Las Vegas. And they were really excited about the film. Their booker was really excited about the movie, and we were talking about booking the film, and then we checked in with her several times. She says, "Oh yeah, we've talked about it with the staff, but the boss is on vacation, and I just have to run it by him." And so they were talking about booking it for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, we just couldn't get him on the phone anymore.
Collusion and pressure.
And I can add to this. I know one of the managers from the theater, and he asked specifically, and he said that some Metro officers came and spoke with management, and they were no longer interested.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, because the truth is going to be told. And the truth about their wildly corrupt police department, they didn't, So that's why I'm declining to say the theater at this point.
Yeah, we actually have 1 minute, and so, yeah, if we can make it quick, we can.
I'll make it quick. I've been around for a long time, back when Ice Cube and WMPD song F the Police, when people actually gravitated to the hook versus the content of the song. So now my question is, I vote for Coach Burns. I'm not even from Las Vegas, because he's such a good person. How do we get the responsibility of policing to be a glorified job, like making it to the NFL, to the NBA from the kids, from a young perspective? How do we start recruiting these police officers at first grade, kindergarten level, like the NBA and the NFL does? How do we do that?
You can begin with ending policies like the war on drugs. go after those who are harming other people, murder, rape, robbery. That's what everybody wants. No one wants to be a victim of that. We will welcome the police if that is their only focus, not going after crimes of consensual adult behavior. Those are health issues, those are educational issues. They don't belong in the hands of the police.
We are out of time. We don't have the room any longer. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out.